the storm timeline today. Those tropical storm winds arrive at about 8 o'clock to 12 p.m. today. So this morning, time to just hunker down. If you have friends, family in Southern California, that's the plan. The main event, the heavy rain, the strongest winds, the greatest flood potential starts this evening in Southern California. By Monday, all that begins to move out. For us here in Northern California, our impacts are humidity, rain chances as well, especially east of Interstate 5, and then the wind, which will be northerly this afternoon and evening. And you see that there. That's a sign things are changing. Then that is going to flip and become very moist, very humid, very southerly wind overnight tonight. We're going to be staying cool below average through about Tuesday or so of this coming week. Then the low pressures really start to move on out of here and high pressure takes its place. We're going to have that high building in through the week and in towards next weekend as well. Upper 80s and dry by the end of the week, and then 90s by the time we get towards next weekend. In fact, we're looking to be 10 to 15 degrees above average by the time we get to Mother's Day weekend. Mother's Day forecast high temperature of about 94 degrees. We've gone almost 300 straight days without a high temperature in the triple digits. Unfortunately, that looks like that streak is about to come to an end. 292 right now, and again, it's all but certain that that's going to be it. Today is that really hot day, that excessive heat warning, peak of the heat. We're going to be at about 108 this afternoon, but even once we get towards lunchtime, we're going to be running close to 100 degrees already by noon. Across the state, lots of us dealing with that heat today. Excessive heat warnings in pink for most of the state, and then the rest of the state, just about, with the exception of the Sierra and right along the coast, is in a heat advisory for this afternoon. So high temperatures around California, about 113 in Imperial, 117 Palm Springs, close to 70 in LA and San Diego. But look in the valley, 108 Sacramento, 110 Fresno, 109 in Bakersfield. Even South Lake Tahoe is going to be just over 80 degrees today for high temperatures. As this front works its way through the Sacramento Valley, it's going to start to dry us out some more. It's going to push down a little bit further than Sacramento, but that's about as far as it's going to get. Depending on exactly where this front stalls out, if it's a little further to the south, closer to Stockton, the heavier rain will be down from Modesto to the south. If it's a little further north, maybe it's just a little north of Sacramento, we'll have a better chance of rain showers through the afternoon. But for now, it does look like this front's going to stall out just to the south of Sacramento, which means that heavier rain is going to stay in the San Joaquin Valley with some spotty showers again forming, maybe even a thunderstorm or two through the afternoon as well. You can see it kind of building back in. Those snow levels drop throughout the daytime today in the Sierra, especially from Interstate 80 to US 50 to the south. That's where those snow levels are going to drop, and we're going to see that afternoon into the evening rain. We'll start in Southern California. You can see there's already some decent rain this morning, but the heaviest stuff will be moving in during the afternoon hours as the center of the storm, which is somewhere right in here at this point, as the center of the storm starts to move into Southern California. This is the strongest wind right in here in this quadrant that we'll be looking for, and especially when you factor in the terrain differences there, the funneling effects of certain valleys, could definitely see some very strong wind gusts, something to pay attention to. In addition, very heavy rain. Look at Palm Springs. We got these dark red colors here. Again, that's indicating some heavy rain across some very dry earth, and that means we could see quite a bit of runoff in Palm Springs, quite a bit of urban and rural flooding as well, and that's going to apply everywhere in Southern California today. What I do expect to happen is fog to build in overnight, especially through the San Joaquin Valley and then working into the Sacramento Valley by sunrise. So we are looking at about a quarter mile to a half mile visibility for most of the valley tomorrow morning. If you are driving tomorrow morning, maybe to go see family, make sure that you give yourself some extra time to get where you're going, because that fog will likely be pretty thick in some places. Overnight tonight, temperatures dropping into those upper 30s, very close to the average for this time of year. And again, that patchy fog, which, good thing we've got Rudolph, of course, with that bright, shiny red nose to help Santa see through the fog. I said Santa was back in South America, and there he is. He was just seen in Bolivia not too long ago. That's about 5,100 miles away. Placerville has seen over 6 inches in just 24 hours. Cosumnes River at Michigan Bar over 4 inches. The McElhamney River at I-5, 3.5 inches. Cosumnes at Wilton over 3 inches in just 24 hours, with some more rain to come this evening. So this is the Cosumnes River at Wilton. It's already at a record high level now at 75.5 feet. To give you an idea of just how big Lake Mead is, if Lake Shasta is represented by this orange circle here at 4.5 million acre feet, this is what Lake Mead looks like. It would be represented by this blue circle at almost 29 million acre feet. So if you wanted to fill Lake Mead with Lake Shastas, you'd have to have about 6.5 full Lake Shastas in order to fill one Lake Mead in southern Nevada. This is a huge, huge lake that has unfortunately been drying up. Here's what it looked like on satellite from the year 2000. Here's what it looked like last year. Now, this weakening has been expected. This does not change any of the forecast for Southern California. Cannot stress that enough. This does not change anything. We have expected this weakening for days. We knew that Hilary would be moving into cooler water. We knew that it would be interacting with land when it got to this point. The weakening was expected. The impacts that we've been talking about for the last couple of days are absolutely still the same. It started off in 86-degree Fahrenheit water. Hurricanes need 80-plus degrees to sustain themselves. Over the last 24 hours, it's moved into 70-degree water, now currently sitting at about 73-degree water. By the time it gets towards San Diego, that water temperature is about 68 degrees off the California coast. So much, much colder. That is why we've seen this rapid weakening. And again, as it interacts with the land, and especially the high terrain of the Baja Peninsula, it is really weakening that storm. So we got two different factors here, the colder water and the terrain impacts. Not much through the afternoon today. This is today at 4 p.m. Again, just 5, maybe 10 miles per hour. By the time we get towards tomorrow, though, this is Thanksgiving at 10 a.m. Those winds out of the north, especially west of I-5 on the west side of the valley as well. By the afternoon tomorrow, we see those winds kind of spread out across the valley. Now we're seeing 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts across Sacramento, Elk Grove, and not quite as strong, but still 20 to 25-mile-per-hour gusts down near Stockton. And because of that, thunderstorm risk and the risk for dry lightning as well, we do have that high-risk trigger day for Monday. So if we have a lightning strike, maybe in a kind of inaccessible location, kind of rural location, we could see that fire become established. So talking about that wildfire risk, fuels below about 4,500 feet are partially to mostly dry at this point. The risk is heavily lightning dependent. Lightning is the trigger. If we don't see as much lightning on Monday, there'll be less risk of new fires. But just go ahead and prepare now. Have your go bags ready and packed and review that evacuation plan. Clouds are going to be building in as we go through the afternoon, however, and that is all a sign that the weather pattern is changing to become more of a wet pattern as opposed to this kind of drier pattern we've had. And I'll tell you, it's looking like it could be an extended period of some wet, possibly wet conditions. We'll put the kind of asterisk on that. Sacramento River at I Street, one of the places we're watching because it is expected to crest at 31.7 feet. Now, the Sacramento Weir will be opened if and when this gauge reaches 29.87 feet. And as we look at Monday, excessive rainfall outlook, the moderate risk level 3, that means 40 to 70% chance of seeing flash flooding in that area. Today, use today to prepare for that rain that arrives tomorrow, highs in the 50s. So let's zoom in now to Southern California. Because of the path of the storm, the center of the storm followed this line. So the bulk of the rain, if you remember as we were looking at satellite yesterday, was north of the storm and east of the storm. So the fact that San Diego, Oceanside, Anaheim, Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, the fact that that coastline was on the west side of the storm meant they got less wind and they also got a lot less rain than they had the potential to receive. Now, the places that were right under the storm, places that were north and east of the storm, such as Palm Springs, El Centro as well, right along the border, and then also just into the deserts, the really rural deserts, Death Valley. They saw a lot of rain and they saw a lot of wind as well. Palm Springs was particularly hit pretty hard. 4 to 8 inches of rain fell across this swath. Again, you can see based on the path of the center that it took, that was on the north and the east side of the storm. Again, the side with the strongest winds and the heaviest rain as well. We'll work a little further north and you see, again, continuing through the deserts, 4 to 8 inches of rain. Death Valley saw 1 to 3 inches of rain and some flooding as well. And then even parts of the southern Central Valley saw 1/2 inch to 2 inches of rain. This is showing us precipitation anomaly, above or below average. The deeper the red, the more below average. The brighter the blue, the more above average. And so what we see across much of the West Coast is actually below average precip for November. Now, this actually includes really all the way from Central California up in towards British Columbia and all the way in towards parts of the Gulf of Alaska as well. That's for November. Let's look at December. Here's December's map. And you can see kind of a similar story. A lot of red still on the West Coast, whereas the East Coast seeing a lot more of that green, above average rainfall. Kind of a different story once we get to January. Here's what January looks like. And now we start to see some of that green. And you can also notice that green that extends out into the Pacific as well. This would be kind of indicative of an atmospheric river pattern or maybe multiple atmospheric river patterns for January. Definitely, yeah. The storm is at this point pretty much past.
Awesome.
We're just dealing with some clouds, some fog out there this morning. We'll get to that in a second, but I do want to start with the loop of the storm. Like Monica said, the radar was lighting up yesterday. Here's what it looked like as that heavy rain moved through yesterday and the heavy snow as well. That was nearly 18 hours ago at this point because we've been dry for the last several hours. Now, the road's still a little bit wet out there this morning, but good news is there's no active chain controls anymore on Interstate 80 or Interstate 50. We do still have some chain controls on 88, however. Here are some snowfall reports. Sugar Bowl, 18 inches. Palisades, Tahoe, 17 inches. Kirkwood, 10 inches. Snow Lab, almost 10 inches at 9.6. North Star at 9 inches. A few more here. Bear Valley, 7 inches. Sierra at Tahoe and Mountain Rose both picking up 6 inches of snow. And then Homewood, 2 inches of new snow. So pretty good snowstorm out of here. Very similar to the last several ones where we saw about 1 to 2 feet, somewhere in that range at pass level and for most of the ski resorts. Here are some rainfall totals during the same time. Last 24 hours, Jackson over an inch, Auburn 9/10, Sonora about 3/4 of an inch, Orangevale, Roseville about 1/2 inch, Stockton about 4/4, 4/10, not 4/4, 4/10, Folsom and Modesto about 3/10, and then Elk Grove 3/10 as well. Downtown Sacramento under the 3/10 mark. Downtown and Sacramento Executive didn't pick up all that much rain. Usually Sacramento's somewhere on the mid to high end of the scale, and this time it was definitely on the low end. Current temperatures this morning, 51 in Roseville, 49 Sacramento, 49 Stockton, 46 Modesto, 39 to Truckee, 34 South Lake Tahoe. Here is some of that fog that we're seeing this morning. It is just really the thickest fog now just to the east of the downtown area, out towards Rancho Cordova, Rancho Murrieta, south of Folsom, and on the northeast side of Elk Grove, a little bit down towards Galt as well. We did have some dense fog out near Vacaville Fairfield. That's starting to lift, but we do still have some dense fog down in the Delta along Highway 4 right now. That'll burn off over the next couple of hours, and through the afternoon, we'll actually see some sunshine before more clouds move in. High of 57 today is about 10 degrees warmer than the high yesterday of 48. Most of the valley didn't get out of the upper 40s for highs yesterday, so most of us will be at least 10 degrees warmer this afternoon. 57 Sacramento, 59 in Elk Grove, 61 Stockton, 59 Modesto, 49 Placerville, 40 in Truckee, and 40 in South Lake Tahoe. If you're getting up early and have to go to work tomorrow, if you don't have tomorrow off for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, lows will be in those low to mid 40s, but we're going to have some dense fog forming across the valley, likely some widespread dense fog. This is what it'll look like about 8 a.m. tomorrow. Quarter-mile visibility all the way up 5 and 99 between Modesto and Sacramento, and then also out along 80 between Sacramento and the Bay Area. The rest of the country, though, is dealing with really cold temperatures. Actual temperatures across the middle part of the country are anywhere from about minus 16 to 14. But here's what it actually feels like out there. Feels like minus 32 in Lincoln, Nebraska, minus 26 Kansas City, feels like minus 1 in Dallas. For us, we don't have any temperatures like that at all, but we do have some more rain on the way. Tuesday into Wednesday as one system dry out for a couple days. Then the next storm arrives Friday into Saturday. Each one of these storms could bring a few tenths of an inch of valley rain and several inches of Sierra snow. So a very active weather pattern continues. Highs in the 50s, then highs in the 60s by the end of the week.